The trouble began 2 years ago when the state decided to switch Flint from Detroit's drinking water to a new system.
The trouble with the water in Flint, Michigan just doesn't let up.
When you realized that especially children were being contaminated by lead and how the state responded.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will.
There was conversation with city council, bringing it up as being an issue before really the governor acted on it. So probably within the last year, at that point they were coming out and saying, hey, you may want to boil your water, but still there was no hard evidence that there was an issue with it.
In 2014, that was 2 years ago. You can just turn the faucet on and get a little egg smell, you know something was wrong. Start tasting the water and you can taste this funny taste. We all know water has no taste, Turn the water on, get a cup of water, and you start tasting this rotten taste. It's like, what is this? Pouring it out. Then days later, you start hearing about boiling water advisory. Then months later, you start hearing about we're giving out water. Everybody's telling us the water's okay. You got city councilmen standing in front of City Hall, bottles of water, cups of water. Oh, yes, it is fine, it is fine, it is fine, it is fine. And then years later, no, don't drink the water. You're going to... It's been very confusing. And me being a father of two with one on the way, my wife is pregnant right now. It makes it kind of difficult, You don't know when to, you don't know what to do with it, you don't know if you can wash your clothes, cook your food, take a bath, brush your teeth, wash your face, the basic things that you need to do, basic utensil things that you need to do. You don't know if you can or if it's safe or anything like that, so it makes it very hard to live.
Well, it's been kind of hard because when it first really started, when the water really got bad, my mom, she lives on the north side, and her water was just coming out brown. So I got siblings all under the age of 9 years old, and they can't even take a bath. They can't brush their teeth, and it kind of hurts my heart that you gotta buy water or you gotta go get free water just to do basic necessities.
General Motors has been here since the early 1900s. This is an industrial city, and there are sites all throughout Flint, Michigan that were former dumping sites of General Motors, and a lot of the toxicity that is in the water is not just from the pipes. It's not just from the lack of putting the proper solutions in to treat the water. It's from leaching from the soil. into the pipes and into the different contaminants that are in the soil in various places, down to the port infrastructure, down to the wooden pipes, is ultimately the main issue.
GM is a lot of the corporate of what it is, and but it's a bittersweet situation. Flint was founded on the back of General Motors, so I don't want to put too much of a knife into GM because I would be in a much worse predicament without them. Like in the EPA class, for instance, we go out to Chevy in the Hole. It's on Chevrolet, and we did some soil sampling, and there is 10 feet of motor oil on top of the water table.
You know, the water's so hard. You see that the way the soil is, you know, over there, how brown the water is, and it's ridiculous. They say you don't even supposed to really be breathing that stuff. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But how can you not breathe if you live in it?
Boil water advisories.
Yeah, there was, I mean, once they started saying, hey, boil your water, you know, that's not normal, you know, and so at that point, we started, you know, really buying bottled water because we just couldn't trust it, you know, so myself, my parents, you know, we've been drinking bottled water actually for the last couple of years. We've had to boil water previously, like maybe a year and a half ago, and so at that point, you know, it's like, maybe something's not right with this water. Maybe we're not getting the whole story.
I always just had suspicion. Before they even switched to the Flint Water, I had suspicion growing up that there's something wrong with that water in that river. There's got to be a reason why that water is green, blue, different colors. Water's supposed to be clear blue when it's drinkable, not green, yellow, all the different colors that comes out of our faucets.
Arrest Snyder now! 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 Arrest Snyder now!
Of course, we know they know what's going on, and they don't want people to panic and stuff like that. But it's like, you know, a lot of us are here, you know, because, you know, unfortunately, we don't have the necessities we need to move away from here. They'll tell us it's good, then they'll go back to boil the water, then it's good, and then boil water, and it's like, okay, no. And then, another thing is, all of the fire hoses, the fire hydrants on every corner, they open them up and just let the water leak out into the streets. When I saw hydrants on every corner in every neighborhood on each side of town, that's when I knew there was something going on seriously.
Flint today. Some fire stations low on supplies, others without any water or filters. Residents tell me they have had enough.
This is like a terrorist act upon a city.
Today, the governor working again to get out in front of what has become a crisis, saying more help is coming. But many who live here, who've had to deal with this mess for more than a year, tell me they just don't buy it.
I feel as if he doesn't feel that it's his fault. You know, he said, oh, well, the EPA messed up. The DEQ messed up. Okay, they probably did. Clearly they did. But now, you're the one who they report to. So, you're the one who is to blame. You know, if I'm running a company and I have you as the manager and things are not stacked properly, I don't come to the stocker, I come to the manager. Why haven't you facilitated this correctly? You know, that's what it is. He's saying, well, I didn't install the copper pipes. I didn't do this and I didn't sign that. You probably didn't, but that does not mean the blame is not on you. You still hold that weight.
So how are you gonna make people pay for something they can't use? How are you gonna tell people to just bend over and take it? As a man, I don't take that very lightly. I got a brand new house and I got stupid water. And I don't like it, not one bit. That you telling me that I go serve my country, put my life out on the line, and would die for anybody in this country, but I come back and I'm not even worth a clean cup of water. It's stupid.
You know, you're not supposed to let that go on. If you're the head man, first thing that's supposed to be going on is, hey, why is my people drinking this water like that? You know, it's just he's embarrassed. I would be too.
Governor, with all due respect, what is taking so long? I mean, you say that you've learned about the situation in its entirety in October. Today at fire stations, there's no water, there's no filter at many stations. People outside tell us that they feel helpless, they feel stranded, and frankly, they don't believe you anymore. At what point do things change? Why isn't FEMA out here right now with trucks handing out water to people that need it?
Oh, right.
Water's still coming out brown. They say supposedly we're not going to get charged for that, as far as from the water companies. Honestly, we shouldn't be getting charged at all.
The community has been strong. You know, this is a resilient place, and we're resilient people. We have been unified in making sure that we help each other make it through this transition or this crisis or whatever it is that people want to call it. Because we still have to live, we still have to maintain. So we're not going to just sit down and give up on anything. You know, we want to work with those that want to work with us to help fix a situation that we didn't cause.
Passed out water for us to drink, so we don't have to drink the fountain water. And at home, we get free bottled water and use it for coffee and stuff.
And we continue to follow that breaking news from the Flint Water Crisis and the possible link to a spike in Legionnaire's disease in that area.
Our chief health editor, Dr. Partha Nandi, joins us now. And Dr. Nandi, for people at home who are worried right now, they don't know what Legionnaire's disease is,
Right.
and how serious is this?
Yeah, it can be serious. So first of all, I don't want people to panic. I mean, first of all, Legionnaire's disease is a serious form of pneumonia that can be caused by the bacteria Legionella, and you can have, pretty bad symptoms from it. The thing is that, we don't know for sure if this is related to the Flint water crisis. When we see a lot of cases, we say, let's investigate and find out more.
Well, Legionnaire's disease was discovered as a result of the outbreak at the American Legion Convention in the summer of 1976. So the American Legion delegates went to Philadelphia, and they stayed at the Bellevue Stratford Hotel. And they left, and after they left, they started having high fever, cough, symptoms of pneumonia. And many of them were hospitalized, and in fact, there were over 221 cases, and 34 deaths resulted from that outbreak. So it was the investigation of that outbreak by the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. They came to Philadelphia to figure out what was going on because nobody knew the cause of that pneumonia at the time. And microbiologists at the Center for Disease Control finally isolated Legionella more than 6 months after the outbreak. So it was a previously unknown, undiscovered bacteria causing this pneumonia, which got its name from the American Legion Convention. So that's why we know it as Legionnaire's disease today.
United States Public Health Director admits he waited a full year before telling Governor Rick Snyder there was a Legionnaires' outbreak in Flint. Fox 2's Tim Skubic with the fallout in Lansing.
What did the public health director know, and when did he know it? Nick Lyons says he knew in January of 2015 that Genesee County was in the midst of a Legionnaire's disease outbreak. So when did the governor find out? Mr. Lyon reveals he told the governor 1 year later. Did it take you a year to notify the governor of that information?
I did not mention the Legionnaires to the governor until the day before we went public, so that's an accurate statement.
It's a lot of emotions that I go through because these are real people's lives, and we're supposed to be a great nation, which we are in many senses, but on the opposite side of that, we are a failure on a lot of stuff, but we don't like to admit to that. This water is a pure representation of failure of humanity, a failure of responsibility, a failure of governance. It's a failure to the people that folks ask them to vote for them. You're like, hey, vote for me. I'm gonna do this, do that. I'm gonna help you. I'm going to advance it. But the whole process in which caused the Flint Water Crisis is a failure of every level of trust that we as a country put into people's hands. And we have to change our thinking on certain things. You know, you can't keep on going the same direction 100 miles per hour and not think that you're going to hit a wall. Right now, I believe we hit a wall. You know, we have infrastructure issues in our country, and that's one thing that came out of this. It shows that we have to deal with the infrastructure.
The only thing we can do, honestly, is not use the water. They're making us pay for water that we can't even drink, water we can't even bathe in, water we can't wash our dishes with, water we can't cook with. This is real life for us. Every day we have to deal with this. Like, my wife is 7 months pregnant. I have a daughter I'm bringing into this world. And it's hard to sit here and try to figure out what I'm going to do for my daughter when she's here. Like, I can't let her drink this water. I have to worry about how much water I'm going to need on a daily basis to give her a bath every day. Not only give her a bath, but for me to drink and for my wife to drink as well. It's hard. It's hard.
What we need to be doing is we need the voices out in the communities that hold all of our political or governmental officers accountable for what they're doing for the time that they're in there. And if they haven't had any progress from the beginning of the time that they got in there up to now, something must be wrong with that picture.
Do you think that the governor knew that this water was contaminated yet still moved forward with this?
You know, there's an issue there, and that's one of the big questions.
I get the feeling that you think he had information that maybe he didn't follow up on.
Maybe that was it. I don't know. We know MDEQ wasn't giving accurate information.
Organizations and agencies working together and making things happen and keeping the community together. That's happening. But when it comes to the forefront, those that are supposed to speak for the people, those that are supposed to have a mind of the people, they look like they're losing their mind. They look like they have no direction or no answer. And it's okay if you don't have an answer, because you're going to have situations where you're going to have to come up with something new, something different, something innovative. But you cannot go through life or go through your career as a politician or as a leader of the community and act like you have all the answers. Because then you leave people in a sense of mistrust and distrust, because a fool can see that we have an issue.
People. The government needs to remember who they are and what their place is, and it's to serve us. And we need to remember what our place is, and that is to lead them so that they can serve us. Because we vote them in, and they need to look at the people. The problem is that our politicians don't look at the people, they look at themselves. And that's, you see the result of it. they're looking at themselves. What happens in the community isn't necessarily going to affect them.
A dozen people died from the outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in Flint that happened after the water switch. And I say at least a dozen because we might never know the total number of cases, the total number of deaths, and the names of the people who died, in part because that outbreak was kept so secret for so long. But you know, the two high-ranking state officials who stood alongside Rick Snyder and spoke at that press conference with them when they finally broke the news about it months into the crisis, that day last January, the head of the health department and the state's chief medical officer, those two top Snyder administration officials, they both have now been charged with felonies.
We're not a place of ignorance. We're not a place of misguided progression. We are a place of progression. We are a place of rule and command and order, and that's been lost.
And how many more shortcuts are there going to take before we can get justice as residents of this community?
Flint is an amazing city, worth fighting for. And the people that live here are fighters and they're warriors, and it's a community that is banding together.
People look at Flint as a bad city, and they put out such a bad image of this city across the media. But in a time of disaster, of like right now, what's going on, we have people all over the city who have come together, not only from the city, all across America.
I'm doing my part, handing out water and letting people know that it'll be all right. We Flintstones, we get through it.